You want to know a secret for keeping you and your family in nearly free food for many years? Perennials. Perennial plants live year after year, so you only have to plant them once, and if they are a food plant, you will be harvesting from them for 5, 10, or many more years. There are many different types of perennials that we have planted and are planting on our farm to keep our family supplied with delicious and nutritious food. Nearly everyone has room to plant some type of berry at their home. Blackberries, raspberries, and blueberries are shrubs that can be planted on the southern or western side of your house and will give you food for years to come. Strawberry plants will live for about 5 to 6 years, but they will only produce well for about 3 years. Then it's time to replace them with new plants or with the runners they put out. Strawberries grow in zones 2 through 10, so you should be able to find a variety that does well in your area. I guess we need to talk a little about growing zones. While many people are very concerned with growing zones when planting their garden, the only real information a growing zone gives us is what perennial plants will grow where we live. Before you choose any perennial plant, find your growing zone and then find a variety that would love to come live at your house. A great resource for choosing specific varieties is your county extension office. The extension office should be able to give you a list of plant varieties that grow well in your area. Another place to get that information is your local nursery. Also ask your neighbors what varieties they are growing with success. I love fresh asparagus. In fact, most of what we grow doesn't make it out of the garden. We have about 20 feet of asparagus that we have planted inside the garden, but we also have a small patch that came up voluntarily that is in an awkward place, but probably produces more asparagus per square foot than the ones that we planted. The easiest way to get an asparagus patch growing is to plant bare root crowns. You can start asparagus from seed, but it is more difficult, and if you are an impatient person, just plant the crowns. You will need patience with asparagus because you should not harvest the spears for the first 2 years after you plant them. They need to become well established in order to give you food for up to 30 years, so do not be tempted to pick your asparagus until the 3rd year after planting. Once your bed is thriving, it will be one of your first plants to harvest in the spring. You should start to see shoots when the soil temperature gets above 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Again, do your research to find out the varieties that do well in your growing zone. By the way, welcome to the old Mayfield place. I'm Snow the farmer's wife, and I teach you to be more self-sufficient in so many ways, such as growing your own food, using herbal medicine, and preserving food for long-term storage. Jerusalem artichokes are not from Jerusalem, and they are not an artichoke. They are a member of the sunflower family. And while they are a beautiful flower, they also produce a delicious tuber that is easy to grow and will keep you supplied in food for many years. In fact, Jerusalem artichokes may be invasive to the point that you will want to plant them in a container to keep them from overtaking your garden. An overabundance of food is a good problem, right? Also known as sunchokes, these wonderful plants are native to North America. Plant the tubers about 4 to 6 inches deep in early spring and harvest them in late fall or winter. When harvesting, leave a few of the smaller tubers in place to keep your sunchokes growing. You can use your sunchokes in the same way you would use potatoes, baked, mashed, fried, or roasted. Scrub them well with a vegetable brush to remove all the soil from the oddly shaped tuber. After they are clean, you can peel them or not, whatever you prefer. Walking onions, or Egyptian walking onions, do not walk across your yard. They run. While they do not produce a bulb like some onions, the tops can be used as green onions in your salads and other dishes. These are another crop that will take over your garden, then your yard, then your neighbor's yard if you don't keep them under control. And I'm afraid that just planting them in a pot won't control them. These onions produce baby bulbs on a stalk that will fall over, and wherever they land, you're going to have a new onion. That's how they walk. The 1 or 2 foot stalk falls over and takes a step, producing a new onion. Then those onions produce bulb stalks, which fall over and take another step. And so on and on they go, marching across your property until they take over the world. If you don't want them to grow where they fall, just take those baby bulbs and plant them where you do want them to keep you in green onions until the end of time, usually. The 2-year drought we had just about did in the walking onions that we had been growing for 20 plus years. We were able to save these 6 and are starting over again this year in this bed. Drought is evil. If you have never tasted strawberry rhubarb pie, you don't know what you're missing out on. Rhubarb looks like red celery, and it can be used in both desserts and savory dishes. Once planted in your garden and properly cared for, it can live for 10, 20, or even 40 years. But you will have to wait about 3 years for it to get established before you can expect to get a large amount from this amazing vegetable. Rhubarb plants need plenty of space to grow, so plant them at least 2 feet and preferably 3 feet apart. The beautiful plants will grow up to 3 feet tall. You can begin harvesting 1 or 2 stalks per plant in the second year. After the third year, you can take stalks that are at least 10 inches long from May until the end of June, but leave at least 2 or 3 stalks to keep the plant thriving until the next year. While the tart stalks are delicious and nutritious, never eat the leaves as they contain high concentrations of oxalic acid, which can cause serious stomach discomfort. When you harvest the stalk, throw the leaves into your compost pile. You aren't going to sit down and eat a big bowl of herb leaves, so you won't get a lot of nutrition from herbs, but they do make our food taste so much better. And most herbs are perennial plants, so you need to be adding them to your garden. Mints are one of the easiest herbs to grow. In fact, mints are on a mission to take over the world, much like walking onions. So you will want to plant them in a container unless you are planning to start a mint farm. Peppermint, spearmint, lemon balm, oregano, sage, catnip, horehound lavender, basil, marjoram, rosemary, and thyme are all members of the mint family. Unless you live in a warmer climate, basil can be killed by the frost, but it readily reseeds itself, so while it isn't technically a perennial, it will be back next year. And while they all have different flavors, the right one can make our meals taste delicious. Other perennial herbs you may want to plant include tarragon and horseradish. Chamomile makes a delicious tea, and again, while not really a perennial, it will self-seed and come back year after year. Our apple trees are at the end of their bloom, and if we get a quarter of the fruit that these blossoms promise, we will be swimming in apples this fall. Again, an overabundance of food is a good problem to have. There are many varieties of apples that range from sweet to tangy, and you should be able to find one that you love and will grow well in your area. Apples are hardy in zones 3 through 8, which means they grow well almost anywhere in the United States. Once you know which variety you want, you need to decide what size of tree you should grow. Most fruit trees come in many sizes. An extreme dwarf will grow to be 5 to 7 feet tall at maturity. Dwarves get 7 to 9 feet tall, and semi-dwarves will be 8 to 13 feet tall. These 3 sizes will give you fruit that you can still reach, although the semi-dwarf may be pushing it. Standard-sized trees will grow over 13 feet tall and may reach 20 feet or more. This makes harvesting fruit from the top of the tree more difficult, so you may want to select a smaller tree. Once you plant your apple tree, you should expect to begin harvesting fruit from it when it is about 2 to 5 years old, and it will give you the most fruit between 5 and 20 years of age. While fruit trees are mostly a set-it-and-forget-it crop, they will need some yearly maintenance, including pruning and feeding to get the best harvest every year. But this requires minimal effort for such a great return on investment. Keep in mind that most apple trees require a buddy tree for pollination, and it may be best to plant 2 different varieties of apples to get the largest harvest. We have 2 apple trees here, a Fuji and a Gala. Over the years, we've lost track of which one is which, but they are really good friends and we have gotten a lot of fruit off of them, even during the drought years. In addition to apple trees, we have 2 pear trees. Like apple trees, pears need to be grown in pairs so they can pollinate. While an apple tree is both male and female, so they will all produce fruit, pear trees are either male or female, and you need one of each to get fruit. This is our male tree, which we planted about 7 years ago. The mate we planted with it never produced, and we think we had 2 male trees. So we dug it up and put it elsewhere so we could plant another tree, which is this lovely female that has been here for about 3 years. We started getting fruit from this tree 2 years ago, and last year we had a very nice harvest. The blossoms are already gone this year, but you can see the tiny pears developing, and we're hoping for a great harvest this year. It has given us delicious sweet fruit that we love to eat fresh, but I also like to can it for use during the winter. And I make pear honey, which is a jam that is wonderful on toast. In addition to our apple and pear trees, we have planted a peach and a plum tree, both which are self-pollinating. This is the second year for them, and we haven't had any fruit from either of them yet, but I'm hopeful for fruit in the future. We have also ordered a self-pollinating fig tree from Stark Brothers that is hardy in our growing zone. I love figs, and I'm anxious to add those to our food crop. While these are cherry bushes and not cherry trees, they are also a great perennial to plant. They are very prolific, and we have harvested large amounts of fruit from them, which makes a delicious jelly. The fruits are very small, so they aren't really practical for making pies, which the farmer loves. I'm not really a fan of cherries, but he is. So he has also planted this Montmorency semi-dwarf cherry so he can make himself a pie. That will be a couple of years down the road since we just put it in last year, but he's looking forward to it. We also planted pawpaw trees around the farm, but those are only 2 years old, so we might get some fruit this year, but more than likely it will be another year or two before they produce. Also growing wild on our farm are persimmons, mulberries, and wild plum, but you could plant those in your yard. Another food tree you might want to consider planting are nut trees. We have an abundance of black walnuts in our yard, and although I don't like their bitter taste, the farmer does. We didn't plant these black walnut trees. I guess the farmer's ancestors did, but I would have rather have had a pecan or a hickory. However, I do appreciate the medicinal benefits of black walnuts, so they still are a beneficial tree to have growing in your yard. Depending on where you live, you might consider growing hazelnuts, almonds, or pistachios. Thank you for stopping by the old Mayfield place today. Stay prepared. What are you planning today to be prepared for tomorrow? And have a blessed week.